Welcome back. It is so great to see our friends Pete and Amber Munnick. And you might remember, Amber was on just last week with our friend Stephanie Staggs, talking about some great collaborations you guys are doing. Well, when she was here, we were talking off camera, and she was telling me something about her life and her story, and I said, whoa, stop, I know your story, because I was following it on social media last year, and now I put a face to the name. So if you wouldn't mind, it's a very powerful story, and we're going to tell you how you can help with the amazing foundation as well. Tell us kind of about what happened last year.
Last year on July 16th, 2023, I had just gotten off the phone with Gavin. He had texted me and asked to spend the night with his friend, and I was like, yes, of course. And he was like, I love you, and I said, I love you too. And then like 20 minutes later, I got a message from Life 360 that he had been in an accident. And I thought, okay, he's a boy, country boy, they're probably out riding, you know, four-wheelers or something, and his phone got thrown, because that has actually happened before.
Yeah.
So it would have been shocking. And then it was like, my older son goes, Mom, they've been in that spot for a minute. And I was like, okay, so it takes you to the scene. I don't know if you know anything about Life 360, but it takes you directly to the scene of the accident. So we all like jumped in our cars and went there, and my husband and his friend made it before I got there. And they were doing CPR when I arrived. And I wasn't sure that it was Gavin originally. But then when we realized it was him, they worked on him, and obviously they couldn't bring him back, but so.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No. Okay.
And that's why hearing the story, you are in real estate, and a lot of realtors had shared your story last year.
Yeah.
And you've started a foundation in his memory. So tell us about that foundation and what you hope to do.
So the foundation is really to reach out to the youth. Our slogan is, you drink, don't drive. Driver drinks, don't ride. And that's the mistake that my son made. He got in the car with somebody who had been drinking, and this is what happens. And so with the foundation, we are giving scholarships away at Rogersville this year, and we're hoping as we raise more money, we can start doing all the local schools, and we'd like to do a boy and a girl from each school, and it's a reoccurring scholarship. So they get something every single year.
And this is the fundraiser page that we're looking at right now.
Yes.
Amber, could you tell us a little bit about the shirts and the powerful impact that has had on the school district today?
My daughter and her friends came up with these shirts the day of the accident later, or maybe the day after, I don't know. But they all wore these shirts, and we had hundreds and hundreds of shirts made. All the kids wore them. They wore them to the visitation. We've had amazing support. There were 1,500 people at his visitation, and over 500 at his funeral. And so, I mean, that kid touched so many lives, and you don't realize, you know, he touched more lives in 17 years than I ever will in my life, you know, and it's just, you know, we just want these kids to be aware that it can happen to anybody.
In the blink of an eye. Just, you know.
Yes, kids think they're invincible, but I think we're sort of hypocritical as parents because we never think it's going to happen to us either. You know, I would have never thought in a million years that I would have to bury my 17-year-old son, you know?
Yeah.
It's just not something you're supposed to do, so
No,
just awareness.
And I'm just curious, you know, how have you and Pete and your other children, like, how were you able to get up those days following his passing, even a year, you know, or so later? How were you able to go on and keep pushing forward and obviously turn this into a foundation?
Well, I think whenever there's tragedy, you have to try to find some positivity in it. And without God, honestly, like, we could have never made it. And just the community in general has been very supportive. Our kids are so. My daughter struggles the most, I think, because they were supposed to be in high school together. So she's a freshman and he was going to be a senior. And so they had all these things planned. You know, they were going to go to the dances together and just those memories before he left for college. And so, you know, going into Rogersville every day is really hard for her.
Yeah.
And some days she stays home if she's having a rough day, you know, and that's okay.
And that's okay. And everybody mourns differently, and that's totally okay. And two, I found it fascinating to learn a friend of our show who's performed on our show, Grace, of Allie and Grace. Grace wrote a song for him?
She did. So Gavin and Gracie were super close. They danced together at Evolution in Rogersville, and they were like brother-sister. Like, she was his big sister. They loved each other. They immediately bonded, and she's an amazing singer. And when he passed away, she wrote this song for him, and it's all over. You can purchase it anywhere, Spotify, Apple Music, anywhere. And it is truly a representation of who Gavin is.
Yeah. And we can actually hear the song in our ears
Playing,
right
yeah.
now. It is beautiful.
Wow. She is such a special girl, too.
She is.
So special. And that song is amazing. And go buy that song now, guys. If you can, get on Spotify, get on Apple, check out that song. How emotional. And it brings it all full circle. Like, I've always said this. You think they're invincible. It's so important to get the message out about drinking and driving.
Right.
So
and it's
important.
not just, you know, the driver. Like, as a passenger, you have to be aware. I would ground Gavin.
Yeah.
Right. He would be grounded. Like, you have to be aware that your driver has been drinking. You know, that was Gavin's mistake. And so
Yeah.
you've got to be aware. You have to know.
And it can happen.
Yes. And there's Uber. There's no reason that you should be drinking and driving. And that goes for adults as well. There's no reason. You know, we have our kids on the family Uber plan.
All the time.
Absolutely.
Uber is better. And by the way, we're going to post the link to that foundation on our social media post. As soon as we're done with the show, we're going to post the segment with the link so you can help with the foundation if you'd like to go find out more about this. And also, we'll post a link maybe to that song, because that's an amazing song. By Grace. We love her so much.
She's the best.
And sorry, Amber, I just have one question. You know how they say when a cardinal appears, it's a loved one visiting you? Does Gavin come to you in certain ways?
Gavin is ornery.
Okay.
We put Gavin in a private cemetery, and that night I have a Tesla, and you know, the lights only come on when your phone's close to it, because that's your key. And my lights came on, and we all just started laughing because my phone wasn't anywhere near the car. My lights came on, and then one of our friends that was with us, he goes, "Gavin, turn off the lights." And my car turned off.
Ooh.
Oh my gosh.
Ooh.
So I think he just like messes with us via lights. I don't know if that's a real thing or if it's just us like
I love
hoping
it.
it is, but just he was ornery. So
Yeah.
I think he just.
And by the way,
gets
just
us.
lift up your shoe really fast, because we
Yes.
noticed these shoes when you were here last, and you wear these in memory of Gavin. So sweet. Guys, go donate now if you can. Go check out the foundation. Look, we're just holding her leg
Oh,
up.
you're just holding up that leg.
Thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you for telling your story.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
All right, you guys. Haley Magnus from the DSA will be joining us next. Don't go anywhere.
Sorry to get emotional. When people get emotional,